Like to call this special meeting for the Great Island Advisory Committee to order on March 20th at 6:35 p.m. I'd like to start by thanking everybody for attending. I know some of you had travel plans, etc., and really appreciate you being here. It's a very big meeting, and it's looking for participation from everybody was one of the key reasons why we went to remote, because a lot of people couldn't make it. So a quick update on 23A. Bids are due on April 4th. They'll be opened at 4 o'clock, I think 4 o'clock, 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I asked Ed, just for my own knowledge, what happens once they're open. So he said once they're open, they're reviewed, and a notice of award with agreement is issued. And then after town receives the agreement and bonds, the notice to proceed is issued. And then following that is a pre-construction meeting. So roughly that's about a month from when the bids are open that shovels will be in the ground. You heard me talk about the owl that took a little tumble. And I want to remind you that she's doing very well. She passed her flight test, and she will be released. We are expecting her to be released on the 24th, which is Sunday, around 6:30 p.m. And the timing is such that the property closes at dusk. So we're getting in right before then, so that we follow the rules. But I hope everybody will come out and join us. Should be a happy occasion. She's a really, from what everybody that has seen her says, she's like one of the best looking great horned owls. So we'll get to see her in person. So again, that's Sunday at 6:30 on the island. Okay. Next item on the agenda is an update, and we have Tony Campanella here from Department of Public Works to tell us what's going on.
Hello, everyone. So as you've probably seen, we erected these kind of natural looking wood sawhorse barricades. We put 15 of them out to try to keep people where they're supposed to go. So they're not going down the beach. They're not going down to the waterfront lawn at the main house and a few other places. We also repositioned the cameras. So before the cameras we wanted to see who was coming into the park. Well, now we're glad that people are coming into the island, but we put the cameras to see who's going past the barriers. And we do get people going past the barriers here and there. Luckily, there've been no incidences. And the hot spots are the waterfront lawn at the main house and a little bit the beach house. So we're going to do some work to expand that a little bit. We awarded the asbestos removal bid, and that's for number 18, the pink house in the basement, and the stables. And we are planning that work sometime in early April. We're just going to do some coordination because number 18, the pink house, a gentleman lives there. So we're just going to coordinate with his schedule when he's away and do that asbestos removal. We have a landscape bid out on the street, and that is due tomorrow at 3 o'clock. That gets open tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So we'll report next meeting what happens there. And work continues at the Dolphin House, the Dolphin Apartment, from the water leak that happened there. I think it was late February. So that's moving on and probably has another month or two to go. We put up the welcome signs. Those are getting about 52 hits a week from the QR code showing the map and the rules. So people are using it. About a 4-a-day Monday through Thursday, and then it jumps up to about 8 a day Friday, and then about 12 a day on weekends. So it's good that it's getting used some, not a ton, but I'm pretty happy with that. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Tony, we talked about another bike rack over where the other one is.
Okay.
Where are we on that?
I hadn't got that, that hadn't made it to me, so I will find out, maybe, Ed put that in Dan's, list, so I will check on the bike rack.
Okay.
Bike rack.
And then the asbestos, what's the time frame? How long does that project take? Do you have any idea?
It's probably 2 days each location. That's my best guess. Maybe
Okay,
a
so
little bit more in the stables. Maybe a day at the Pink House and maybe 3 days at the stables.
okay, so about a week.
Yeah.
Max. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, next item on the agenda is to discuss and take action to approve vendors eligible to submit requests for proposals for master plan consultant. So the RFQ process aimed to identify a landscape architect firm adept at leveraging Great Island and its structures to enhance community activities and facilities as outlined in the Town Plan of Conservation and Development and the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. 16 firms responded, each presenting a comprehensive proposal that included company overviews, project understandings, and the qualifications of key and extended team members relevant to the project scope. In addition, proposals highlighted case studies, experience in master planning for public agencies, budget and scheduling strategies, and the management of ecological impacts and regulatory approvals. I'm reading that mostly off of the actual RFQ. Compelling proposals included innovative approaches to public engagement, recognition of the need to deploy a variety of possible funding strategies, and efficient governance planning. The committee valued these elements for their critical role in aligning the project with community expectations, securing sustainable funding, and ensuring project oversight. The community are interested in partnering with firms that have not only the technical expertise, but also a deep understanding of community involvement, financial planning, and project management. So, as we all know, selecting the 6 firms wasn't easy. All of the proposals were impressive, and we're very grateful for all of the ideas and effort from all of the firms. It showed us how much they cared about this project for Great Island. So before I go any further, I'd like to open it up to the committee for any comments.
Well, I would just say it was an impressive process and an impressive group of entities that made their submissions, and I was uniformly impressed with the amount of detail and the amount of thoughtfulness that went into those documents that we read and we discussed.
Thanks, Mike.
I would agree with what Mike said. I think that we received a incredible response to the request for qualifications. Reading through I think that the toughest thing to do was to get the number down, because I think we could have been happy with the results we would have gotten from many of these, most of these firms. So it was very impressive what we received. So thank you to everybody.
And you know what, I know I've said it before, but I want to thank again Jeff and Dan for working on the RFQ proposal along with Kate and Ed. You did a terrific job helping us work our way through this. And it was a lot of work on the committee members' part to take a look at each one of these proposals. And we had a very good, robust discussion last week, and happy to have had all of our committee members at that meeting and in agreement on the 6 firms. So if there are no further comments, I'd like to have a motion to approve the following 6 vendors as those eligible to submit a response to the request for proposals for Great Island Landscape Architect Services. May I have a motion? Mike moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. The list is Hargreaves Jones, MVVA, Reed and Hildebrand, Stantec, SW Ballsy, and The Unknown Studio. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Okay. I see it as unanimous. Okay. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and take action to approve the request for proposals for Great Island Master Plan. So again, a lot of heavy lifting by Jeff and Dan and Kate and Ed on this, and really appreciate all of your work on this. We and also all of the committee feedback. It was incorporated, I think, in the document that you've all received, and bids on this will be due April 18th at 4:00. But I thought it would be helpful for maybe Jeff and Dan to give a little bit before we vote to approve on this, a little bit of background on what's involved in an RFP and what they were looking for when they put it together.
Well, just some background. So the RFP is just, we're asking for bids from the contractor. Typically, it's made up of a scope of work and a bid form where they fill out the price. And our scope of work's defined in that Exhibit A that you read. So there were 2 pieces to this, the RFP itself and the Exhibit A. Our Exhibit A is all words because we don't have any drawings or specifications yet. So we just defined what they wanted, and we broke that into 4 phases and 6 milestones. So those 4 phases are the vision plan, the master plan, the construction design documents, and the construction support period. And the intent here was to give the town some flexibility to proceed at a pace that we were comfortable with. And we could choose to pause at the end of any one of these milestones for whatever reason it would be, and then pay for only that segment. And then we could just pause it and pick it up again later, or stop the project altogether, whatever we want to do. So that's the reason we broke it into those phases and milestones. The RFP itself just provides the bid form where they fill in the numbers, and it also provides all the rules that the proposers need to follow. And the idea here was pretty much to protect the town's interest and to get a uniform understanding of what the proposers had to provide numbers for. Jeff, you had anything?
Well, I worked mainly on the first 2 phases of the scope of work, and I thought you did a great job on all the rest of it, Dan. I'll just say that I also appreciate the comments, and I think we incorporated most all of them. Just the rationale and the scope of work, as we had discussed before, it's really hard to start public engagement from a blank page. So that first task is very important. And I know we had a sort of a generalized map done, but to do a real vision plan that the community can study and respond to. And as I believe John noted, list uses that look initially that they would be feasible and compatible, and maybe some that maybe look like they wouldn't, and why. So we can begin that process early on and have an informed public dialogue about that. Another thing we want to get right in that first shot is talking about what the governance structure for Great Island is going to be, because that is going to affect the funding strategies and possible future revenue streams. The other thing I'll say about the master plan is those tasks are listed, 1 to 15 or however many there are in the phase two part, but those are not going to all necessarily proceed sequentially. Those are going to be informing one another as we go along. So, and we'll be working with the selected firm to come up, with the appropriate timeline and phasing for all that. But, you can't do some of those things without having done some of the others. After that initial public visioning, we have in task 3 a longer term public and stakeholder review. In the responses to the RFQ, we got a lot of good proposals for how to handle that, but we really see that as continuing throughout the project at different phases, both to keep people informed of where we are, what things are ready to look at and give feedback on, and then that culminating in the town approval of the master plan, which will lead into the construction, design, and administration segments that Dan prepared.
Any questions?
No, I think that the public engagement part is really important, and I think that the vision, we did the zone, the plan of possibilities, the zoning, but again, that was just that was an initial look at what was possible out there. So I'm interested in what these firms will come up with, building off of that, not necessarily following that plan. So. I think that the public engagement, and I think that the economic side of this are really important, and I think that's highlighted in the RFP. So I was very happy to see that. Any other comments from anyone else? No? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the request for proposals as presented?
Before we make the motion, and I'm sorry I didn't notice this until I printed it out before the meeting, there's a couple things I think from the edits that are in italics that perhaps should be changed back into the regular consistent format with the rest of the text. But with that change, I would so move.
Okay, so with those corrections made, Jeff will move. Second? Mark? Okay, Mark will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Unanimous. All right. Thank you. Okay, next item up is to discuss early access. And we opened the island early access on March 1st, and we've I'm sure all of you have been out there and you've heard the positive feedback that we've received. I know we've received it. I know John's received it in town hall. So that's fantastic, and I hope that the community will continue to go out and walk the property. It's especially nice on the weekends. The property will be open to the public until during the week and on the weekends, and still until we start that construction, which, as I laid out, is right around the beginning of May. And then at that point, we will be the access will be restricted to the weekend when the construction's not happening. Okay. But I have to bring up something else that is that's kind of concerning for me, or it's actually not kind of, it is actually very concerning to me. So we've had a number of items that need our attention. We've had numerous instances where people are, biking or bringing their dogs or not staying on the pavement. And those are concerning. Again, bikes are not allowed on the island, and they're not allowed on the, right inside of the gates. But that brings me up to what's really concerning, which is trespassing. And I have to make this really, really clear for people that the town did not purchase the gatehouse. We've had instances where people are going up to the door of the gatehouse or looking in the windows or going around the back. And that is trespassing. And that's illegal. And you wouldn't want anybody to do that on your property. We've also had instances where people are trying to access Great Island from Long Neck Point, from the two entrances from Ziggy's Way and from Great Island Road. There are gates there, and they have no trespassing signs on them, and that's because it's private property. So you can't open the gate and go onto that property. And I've spoken with the police, and they are aware of the situation, and they have asked residents and people living on Great Island, but also residents that are seeing rule breakers, to please call the police and let them know. The number is 203-662-5300. So I think, some of this is just true confusion, and we're going to address this. Tony, I think we're going to take a look at those signs, to put a sign at each one of those entrances off of Long Neck. And we should probably think about what we can do down at Pear Tree, because at this point, beach passes aren't required. And so it's very possible that we have some people from out of town that aren't on the newsletter, or you don't really see the sign until you get to Great Island. So I thought your idea about a couple of signs at those two gates saying, please proceed, these aren't, it's private property. But I also have to say that I've looked at the gates. They have signs on them that say private property, no trespassing. So again, you wouldn't want somebody opening a gate. Nobody would want somebody opening a gate on their own private property. So I'm just asking our residents to please follow the rules and regulations. It's important, and it's for everybody's safety, and it's just the right thing to do. So, but with that being said, I also am really excited that people are visiting the island. It's we've had some really great weather, and I hope people continue to go out there. I hope you come out and see the release of Luna. So, any comments on early access? Does anyone want to share anything that they've heard or learned while being out there?
Monica, is it inappropriate for you to do a townwide phone call to discuss this issue of trespassing?
Nah, this wouldn't rise to a code red, but what we will do is we'll put a press release out. We're working with the police department on that. And, I know that these meetings, that's why I'm not, you all know that you're not supposed to do this. So I'm not actually talking to you. I'm actually talking for the public. And we will continue to do that. I think that Tony had a pretty good idea on some signage, and I think that will help the Long Neck. And as far as the gatehouse, that's the owners are going to do a little bit of work themselves, and I hope that getting the message out helps.
I was just going to say my observation from when I was there the first Sunday that it was open, and the weather was beautiful, and there was a great deal of enthusiasm and appreciation for the ability to walk around and spend some time there. So I think it's been a magnificent and well appreciated purchase thus far. And to be sure, there were some people who were riding bikes or walking dogs, but they were uniformly courteous when we reminded them of there was no access for bikes or dogs yet. So hopefully that spirit of understanding and following the rules will prevail.
And to help with that, Mike, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get hats for the Great Island Advisory Committee, and I'm going to ask you when you're out there to wear them. And I'm also going to ask you if you see people and they, what are you smiling about, Mark?
Just curious what the hat's going to look like, Monica.
Yours is going to have a propeller on it. Don't worry.
Thank you, John. I figured that. Yours will be a cowboy, I suspect, a cowboy hat.
Yeah. Now they'll probably be baseball hats, is what I'm. But it'll say GIAC on it, so people, if they have any questions, they'll know that this is a committee member that they can ask questions of, and you know what, committee, get out there. get out there on the island and talk to people, because this next phase is really, really exciting. And the more input we have from residents, the better. That's why I'm really encouraging people to take a walk out there and check it out themselves, and maybe take a few walks.
Monica, are the horses gone?
Horses are gone.
That was one of the reasons why we didn't want dogs out there, because we didn't know how they'd work with react with the horses. Is it time to revisit the leash? Dogs on a leash are okay?
I think, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and get through the construction phase on that. Yeah, the horses, the stables are, they're empty. They'll be doing, Tony said he'll be doing a little bit of asbestos work there. But the gates are shut. So that property is locked off.
I'd just like to emphasize Monica's points about these rules. They were not arbitrarily determined. They were put in place for everybody's safety, but also in place to protect the privacy of private property owners around that area. So I would urge everyone, before you visit Great Island, take a look at the rules. They are easily posted and easily seen on the town website. To Tony's point, you can scan the QR code when you get to Great Island. Again, it's all very, very clear of what is permissible and what is not permissible. To Dan's point, we're going to stay actively engaged on these rules and refresh them in time. But for right now, they are in place for people's safety and for private property owners. So please respect them. That'll help us ensure that this property can be enjoyed controversy-free by all for a long time.
If I'm gonna wear the hat, I've got to know the gray area on scooters. I've been saying no, but I could see an argument both ways.
Well, right now we have no bikes, which would include scooters.
Got it.
But again, all these regulations will be looked at again when the construction's done.
I mean, I think you have to, look at some of these regulations in the sort of the totality of the circumstances of the island. I mean, it's easy to say that there's a ease of now having dogs there because there are no horses, but we don't have trash receptacles there or are planned for removal. So you have, dogs and they do their business and you pick up after them, and then, where do you take care of that refuse? Or, if you have, scooters, which you might think are like less dangerous or obtrusive than, bicycles, I think it's really a question of, volume and, how many of those cycles that can move at a greater speed or in a narrowly defined area, because right now we just have people on the walks. So I think you have to look at what the next step is in terms of the practicality of amending some of those regulations. But as Monica said, I'm sure as we go along we'll revisit.
Right.
I agree. I think this phased early access that we're pursuing, this early stage, is allowing folks to learn some of the issues that Monica touched on. I think she mentioned, and I agree with, some of it is just not knowing, where does the private property end and where does the town property begin. And so some of the communication, I think, Monica, you mentioned, Tony suggested some signs at Pear Tree Point where folks are parking and walking. That is a pretty long walk, and I can see, and I know that some folks have gotten confused. And some of these other items getting considered over time, especially once that construction is behind us, it seems prudent. We're learning each week that goes by as folks are on the island. Just my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? No? Okay, next item is review of the minutes from the February 21st meeting. And if there aren't any edits, corrections, or does anyone have any edits or corrections? Okay. Good, I did the minutes. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the Great Island Advisory Committee meeting minutes of February 21st as presented?
So moved.
Bruce moves, Mike seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay, terrific. All right, special meeting, so that's it. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mark moves, Bruce seconds, all in favor? All right, unanimous. Thank you, committee. I'll see you on
Thank
Sunday.
you.